1, 2, 3, 4.
Mrs. and a mic, you don't need much more.
4 misses.
Come on.
4 misses.
Come on.
5, 6, 7, 8.
It's your favorite podcast, so save the date.
4 misses.
Come on.
4 misses.
Come on. 4 misses and a mic. Come on. 4 misses and a mic. Come on.
Hi, guys. This is the 4 Mrs. and a Mic podcast. This is CJ.
CC to the left.
It's Al.
And Bree. Hey, everybody.
Hi. We would like to thank you for joining us and listening. I want to remind you that we are on Libsyn, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play. And if you guys listen to us on iTunes, go ahead on and hit that review button and leave a review so people can find us in the charts. And also hit the subscribe button so that you get alerts when we put out new episodes.
Yes, only leave feedback if it's 5 stars. No, I'm just kidding.
Good feedback only.
Yes, good. If you're no, I'm just kidding again.
Yes, but no, we appreciate your feedback and your support. It really means a lot to us and it keeps us going. So thank you.
This is totally off topic, but sort of on topic. Have you guys gotten like the little survey on your receipt from like McDonald's recently? No, just me? Okay.
No.
Do you know that you only get the free thing if you give them like a 10?
What?
Really?
I didn't know
So like
that.
if you have a complaint, you don't get like the free coffee or whatever.
Wow.
I was like, that's cheating.
Never
That
knew
is
that.
cheating.
Never knew that either.
Totally
that.
cheating.
Oh, anywho, back on topic.
You
So
digress.
What are we
Digress.
talking about today,
That's
guys?
I agree.
Oh, is my turn to introduce?
It is.
Oh, yay, okay. I love talking.
We can't tell.
No, really? I feel like I've been in my
Can't
shell and
You don't
everything.
say.
So today we are tackling the 80-20 rule in relationships. So for all of you out there who aren't familiar with the 80-20 rule, the definition of the 80-20 rule is, in any healthy relationship, you will only ever be 80% fulfilled at most. The 20% is usually the catalyst for complaints, cheating, and breakups. So, what do you think, guys? Is that true?
I'm going to go out. I'll go first. I'll say that I do agree because I don't think we're ever 100% fulfilled with anything that we do. And I think that's what keeps us going every day. So in relationships, I absolutely feel like that's the truth. I don't know if, 80-20, 70-30, 60-40, whatever. Exactly. I definitely think that there's always room for growth and development. And I don't think you're ever 100% happy. That's me.
Yeah, I agree. If you had 100% with your relationship, it'll be nothing to like strive for and, grow to, and it'll kind of just be blah.
I don't think anybody has 100%. I think if
No.
they think they have 100%, they're lying to themselves.
Right,
Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly.
And I think it gets boring. If you
Yes,
have-
exactly. It's
Beyonce
Like, there's
said it
no
best.
fun.
Perfection is so... It's true though. And I also feel like 80 is probably like your happy place. I feel like when it starts to be 70-30, 60-40 is when you start to feel like, oh, we need to start working on our relationship. We're getting some distance or things are not really meshing. And I feel like when you're like at your best, you're probably like 85-15, 90-10.
But
I don't think you ever get to 100.
I will say that I think that throughout your relationship, you go through all of that.
Yeah,
There's
fluctuates.
days when you're like
It fluctuates.
595.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
I think that that's a part of it all. So 80-20 is like maybe a happy medium for a consistent number, but there
Right.
are times when you're at your highs and then there are times when you're at your lows.
Right. And I think, too, that number also depends on you, because I think you go through phases. So your relationship goes through phases, but you also go through phases. So there are times when things are 95-5 because for you, whatever you need, like your needs are being met and you're happy. But, things may change and there may be something personally that you need down the line that makes things shift to that 70-30 mark or
Like
whatever the
like
case
Why
may be.
people change and
Fire.
people divorce and people say irreconcilable differences.
Yes. But I just want to say for me, the 80-20 refers to my fulfillment in the relationship. It doesn't refer to like my personal happiness because like I'm a firm believer that the only person responsible for my happiness is me. So like as far as like what I'm looking for in the 20 or what I have in the 80, that's just relationship like specifics only. That's him and I together. That's not my happiness meter. That's just, you know, how well we're working together and how fulfilling the relationship is. It's not an indication of if I'm happy or not.
So I don't know. I feel like that spills over for me because I can tell you on days when I'm having a great day, everybody's a lot happier.
She said happy life, happy life.
But I mean, same for him as well. I think
Nothing
when
rhymes
you're
with happy husband, so.
no. But I think that when you're on a good wavelength, I don't know. I think it translates over into your relationship too.
I think so. I think when you're happy, you don't find fault with as many things. So I definitely think that my personal happiness does spill over into the relationship and how happy I am with how things are going in the relationship.
That's true, but like speaking from the perspective of someone who like battles depression, I can tell you when I'm having like an episode, I can still feel like 80% or even more fulfilled in my relationship, but still personally not be happy. So that's why, like, for me, I can separate the two. Do you get what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That
And
makes
I'll
sense.
totally
Yeah.
go
You
into
keep it
this
separate.
more when we have like an episode dealing with that. But just like for me, like I think it doesn't spill over as much. And I've noticed that it doesn't spill over as much. Conversely, with the negative feelings associated with depression versus like the happy feelings associated with like joy and.
So I think that's personality driven too, though. Mm-hmm. I think it's individual. I think it's, I don't know, pretty respective to like every individual.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because some people separate a lot better than others. And then a lot of times I think what happens is the people closest to us will feel the brunt of what we're going through a lot more than anybody else will. Because we'll censor, but once you get home, it's like, let me tell you.
You unload, yeah. But I can totally unload on him, but still feel like on his end and in our marriage, I'm fulfilled. It's just my personal, like, meter.
But I can
It's
also
not
tell
really
you
high.
that 20% gets to be a lot worse if I've had a bad day. So, like, if I'm just not having a good day today, the 20% will certainly seem like...
A lot higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Same
like,
for
it
me.
just magnifies.
Yeah.
So what's your 20, what's a 20 for you in your marriage?
So we have, like, two completely different personalities, I think. And I think that would probably be the 20 for me.
So what do you mean? Like,
I am
different?
more of the aggressive, and I'm more of the extrovert, and he's more of the quiet introvert. For certain things.
Wait,
though.
what?
I was gonna say, are we talking about the same Mr. Cece?
Yeah.
Wait, so y'all
Mr.
don't think that he's introverted?
Cece?
Absolutely not.
no.
He is. Oh, he's totally
Really?
introverted. Yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely a whole lot more outgoing.
No, I can see that,
personality-wise.
but I
can
didn't
see
think
him being
he
more
was
outgoing, right.
introverted
Yeah.
at all.
Right, but I still feel like he
Yeah,
is.
because
I
he's
feel like
comfortable with y'all.
I feel like the introverts
Okay,
are probably Mr. L
okay,
and
I
Mr.
can see
Bree.
that.
I feel like the extroverts
Oh, we are
are Mr.
definitely-
CJ and Mr. CC.
We're definitely introverted.
Yeah, no, he's actually pretty introverted.
Huh.
So my personality can be more dominant. Now there's certain things where he's gonna absolutely be more dominant,
Right.
but for the most part, I'm probably the more dominant personality of both of us.
So is that
That's interesting. I can't believe y'all thought that.
no? But
Yeah.
again, you're probably right. It's probably because
He's comfortable around us. And,
exactly.
Yeah.
So if that's your 20,
So in other words, I'll go like if we're on a scale of level to 10, I'm at 15 the majority of the time, and he's probably more like a 5. So because I think that we're so different in that aspect, our ideals and our thoughts on certain things are going to be very different. So what I feel he should probably do more of He probably is like, I'm okay right here because this is where I'm comfortable and this is where I am. And then for things he probably thinks I should pull back on, I'm like, no, this is the way I am and this is how I feel about it.
So
Does that make
this
sense?
might be a 20 for him too.
Right.
So
Yeah, he
like-
probably thinks I'm way over the top on a lot of stuff, whereas I'm like, that's how you have to be.
So you think it's probably attractive to him if he saw someone who was more even kiltered than you are?
At times I could see
And
that
you as
being the
well? Probably a little bit more...
Right.
like-
Exactly.
Outgoing.
Yeah. I can't think of that word for some reason just now. I was like making hand gestures and it looked like I was like making boobs on my chest or something. I don't know what that was. But anywho, what about you, Elle?
Well, my 20 is definitely, my husband is a mess. Like, as far as just like cleaning and like cleanliness, he like strives for the ultimate mess and dirtiness. Like, it's just,
he and I were friends.
it's just,
too.
it drives me insane.
Really?
Like, he has like, I'll set up, a hamper, and I'm like, hey, just, put your clothes in, when you take them off, don't just throw them right there, just put them in this hamper. And he'll like throw it next to the hamper on the floor, and I'll go to pick them up, and he's like, I want my pile of clothes right here.
He's like, Elle, I want to put it right here.
I want my clothes here. So it's like he has to, and when he cooks, which I appreciate it when he does, he cooks very well, but he just has to like throw things on the ceiling and all over it's just like a mess. I don't even
That's how you
understand.
check if the spaghetti is ready.
On the ceiling, though.
He's
It
not
doesn't
checking
matter.
for
It
spaghetti.
has to stick. Okay, you throw it. If it sticks, that's when it's ready.
So he makes these huge messes and does not clean them. And it just drives me insane.
So like a really neat man, you'd probably
Yeah,
be
and-
like, that would be nice.
I mean, the thing is, there's
I mean, this is not a dating show. So the neat guys out there, please don't approach
Yes, please
Miss L if
don't.
you
Don't
see her.
email Forces in the mic at Gmail saying, hey,
Don't slide in a DM.
is
Yeah.
Mrs. L available? She's not. And her husband is crazy. And he will kill you. Just, so you know. What about you, CJ?
So my 20 is that my husband works too much. And not just at his job, but then he's involved in activities outside his job. And he tends to take on like roles with a lot of responsibility. And it's just always something. Like, he's always working, he's always going. And then when he's not working, he's tired from always working. So I always feel like we're getting the remnants of him. And not to fault him, because, on the flip side, you want a man who's going to work and who's going to provide who's driven. You want that. But, for me, it's just frustrating because, when it's all said and done, we just get the exhausted husband that's left over.
You miss your husband.
Yeah.
Get it? So for me, my 20 is that my husband wouldn't know romance if I rented a plane and wrote the word romance in the sky. And for me, like, I'm a girl who, when you see like those Facebook posts, it's like, oh my God, I came home and he bought me a new dress and he put a note that said, put this on, gorgeous, I'm taking you out to dinner. Or like Serena's husband flew her to Italy for dinner. They were in France. It's not like he flew her from the US. But stuff like that. Like, I'm just like, oh, swoon. It's like, he didn't get that gene or something. I don't know. And I feel bad complaining about it, because if I ever ask him for anything, I get it. But it's like, I don't want to ask. I want you to like put some thought and effort into it and come up with something on your own. I know that's probably really sad. And there's probably women out there that are like, girl, you're tripping. I wish my man would give me what I asked for. But I just, I love like the effort and the thought. Like, especially like CJ, like your husband, like how lovey-dovey he is and how he tried. And I know you hate it. But like, I really envy that kind of stuff. Like, hasn't he like written you poetry and stuff before?
Yes, he
Oh
has.
my God, if Mr. Bree wrote me a poem, I'd die of a heart attack. Like,
I mean, Mr. Bree, if you listen,
Please.
just write a poem.
you should tell him it's a lot cheaper than a Chanel bag.
It definitely is.
But like for me, like when I see that, and not that I would ever cheat on or leave my husband just because I met someone else, but I could see temptation if I met a guy who was very forthcoming with those types of gestures towards me.
This
And
whole
that-
episode,
But that would be like a slippery slope, and I know that.
we're gonna get in all
So,
kind of trouble.
I
for
know.
doing
I'm being
episode.
honest. Like, I'm being
Right.
honest. And I don't think there's a married woman out there or a woman in any relationship out there who can honestly say that their man or woman, whoever they're with, gives them 100% of what they need and want.
Absolutely not. That's fake.
Right.
So let me ask
Never.
you guys this, because in the definition you did say that the 20% is usually the catalyst for complaining and cheating and breaking up. What do you do when you find yourself dwelling on that 20% to keep you from going left and to focus on the 80%?
Well, I mean, I will tell you, I focused a lot on the 20%, and his 20% is probably me complaining about his 20%. I mean, because it's pretty bad. I don't think y'all understand how bad it is, but I try not to focus because it's really not that big of a deal.
Right.
And I feel ridiculous how, I focus so much on it, but
Right. I think it's like in the grand scheme, that
Right.
20 is really not that important when you look at all the
all
stuff
of the
you
other
get
stuff.
from the 80.
Right.
I think God sends us reminders actually.
Every now and then.
And I think that like every now and then I may be scrolling on Instagram and I see something terrible that's happened to someone, and that usually jolts me right back. Or I don't know, I'm talking to somebody about a relationship and it's just like they're like really going in on like the hard time that they're having, and it jolts me back. Or I'll just do it myself. I'm like, okay, this has been going on, like you're super aggravated about this. It could be tons
I'm
worse.
like, just
and I
clean
think
up the grits
I'm
off the
the
floor.
opposite.
It's okay. Like, just
grits on. What are y'all doing?
clean up the bacon grease out the microwave. It's
But Cece, I'm the opposite. Like I'm scrolling on Instagram and I'm like fantasizing about like the romance and stuff, and it takes.
That's
But you
social
got-
media.
but listen,
You have to be careful
But
with
it
that.
takes-
though.
But that's
It's not real
usually. But listen, but that's when God usually will bring something into my life that will happen, and my husband will save the day, and I'm like, that's why.
This sounds really cliche, but that whole pros and cons list, it's really a good thing.
Oh,
Yes.
I will tell you, there's
Absolutely.
some times where I actually sit down and like, and it may not even be, in regards to the relationship or the marriage, it could be anything. Where it's just like, if I'm having a poor me, pity me, oh, it's such a horrible day, like, just get yourself together.
So, do you want to tell our listeners like what the pros and cons list is?
Ah, you're right, because somebody may not know.
Right, and they could probably use this.
Yes. So basically, you sit down, you write a list of everything, whatever is bothering you or paining you or whatever it could be, and you list all the pros of that situation or that person or that thing or that relationship or whatever it is. And then you go down the list of cons and you write the same thing. And if the pros outweigh the cons, then you
should
probably
stay
need to
and be happy.
readjust.
Yeah. And if the cons outweigh the pros,
Then you should probably take a bus or a
you
plane.
need to check the deuces.
Want to get away.
Okay, so I'm still being messy because you guys skirted around the issue. So I understand that in the 20%, something normally happens or something comes across your plate. Cece, I think you had a really good example. Like in that moment, you make your list and you're able to kind of pull yourself out of it. But like Bree, for instance, you said you'll scroll through Instagram or whatever, and eventually something will.
Yes, the Lord will stop my wandering eye.
Right. But is there anything immediately? So, for instance, here's an example.
Okay.
You're dwelling on the 20, and an ex sends you a text. Okay.
Ooh, trouble alert.
I was supposed to say, first of all, I don't.
So,
Ain't none of them gave me the 20 either.
Okay,
So.
so
but I'm just saying,
Let's
in
do
that
that.
moment, what is it for you as a married woman that clicks to say, I'm dwelling on the 20, but I'm not even going to entertain this situation because what? Like, how do you pull
First
yourself
of all,
out?
That means the devil is busy.
Yes.
And second of all, the 80 is literally all around me. Like, it's our home. It's our children. It's in the car that I get into because my husband bought it for me as a birthday gift. It's on my finger. It's, it's everything. It's all of those are reminders of this amazing man that I have. And that's usually what jolts me, like, hey, Bree, pull up, because which is going to happen is you're going to get the dude that's going to bring you flowers, but they're going to be carnations from Walmart in the grocery section, and he's going to buy you a $75 engagement ring. And you're going to have missed out on your 80. And see, and that's the thing. You're chasing that 20, sometimes you lose your 80.
So maybe it's just your conscience. Is
My
that what it
conscience?
is? Or like are y'all thinking that maybe it's just consequences? Is it consequences that motivate you to get back? Like, oh, if I do this, the consequence could be.
Yeah, probably that. It's probably fear of losing all that I have. It's like a bird in the hand versus two in the bush. I could go after that two in the bush and lose the one I got in my hand. And I like the bird in my hand. That sounds so
Sometimes,
dirty.
because I think
It's not meant to be dirty.
honestly, I think it could be consequence driven.
You think?
What is it for you?
So for me, the 80 is always playing in my mind. Even when I'm complaining about the 20, the 80 is always there.
Right.
So a really big thing, like I know you have your pros and cons list. My thing is whenever I feel like I'm in a situation where I'm frustrated or I'm annoyed, I run down the list of all the things I'm grateful for. Because that list always far outweighs the things I'm right. So like even in that moment, like I'm frustrated that Mr. CJ is sitting next to me sleeping, but there's so much else that he brings to the table that I'm grateful for. That I just like I understand. Okay, he's tired. When he wakes up, it'll be all good. If I were to get that text, the very first thing that would pop into my mind would be everything that I would lose.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Just entertaining this person who just popped up in my text messages or whatever the case may be.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. So that's what it is. Like it's for me, it's just a constant. It's like a little banner running across my mind.
It's a ticker.
Yeah, all the time.
It's like the NASDAQ of
So
love.
for me too, it's the pros and cons, and it's also okay. So think about it if you didn't have him,
Right.
and that's a scary
Right.
thought.
Yeah.
And I just want to reiterate that if you're in a very happy relationship and your ex hops in your DMs on your phone or whatever, that really means the devil is busy.
Yeah.
Like, please don't fall prey to that temptation.
Right.
There's a reason why you're not with that one and you're with the one you're with.
Yeah,
Just
don't
remember
do it.
that. So, question. So, do we think that it's ever possible to, we pretty much said, like, your perfect level is like 80-20, but can you make your perfect level like a running 90-10 or 85-15? Do you think that's doable, or is that like really just asking too much?
I think throughout the relationship you go through that. So I don't think it's ever fully 80-20. I think that your 80 could become 95. Just
Yeah, even
I don't
like
know.
day to day, even sometimes.
Yeah.
If you're fighting, it could be 70-30,
So we should be content with 80-20. Like 80-20 sounds like a happy place.
Well,
Since we agree 100 is unrealistic and unattainable.
I don't know that I would say you should be content. I think you're always striving for higher numbers. And I think that's part of what keeps you fighting for a relationship.
right.
So you're trying to be
we always-
99-1. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, you give me 100-0.
Right.
I'd be okay with that too. But
Not ever going to happen.
but,
Like, that's-
but fighting for
Because
that.
even if you get there,
Trying to
his
reach
feet
it,
will still
trying
stink or
to get
something.
Right, but fighting
Right,
for
but
that keeps
It's the
you
thrill of
trying
the
to get
chase.
there.
right,
I think.
keeps you going.
Like, that's a rule
Yeah.
for us. Like, it's always never get too comfortable.
Yeah.
Don't ever get too complacent, and always find a way to improve yourself or change yourself. Like, we are like hardcore with that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Okay.
that's just our thing.
So let me throw this little wrench in the game real quick. How do we know, mostly when we're dating, because I'm going to assume now we're married and pretty happy that we're content, we know we have 80s. When we were dating, how did we know that we were chasing 80s and not chasing a 20? Basically, were you getting like your needs, or were you just getting your wants? And how did you know the difference?
Because based on what I had before, this was sunshine, roses, peaches and cream.
Yeah.
So at that very moment, it looked like 150.
Yeah. I've never been even close to 80. I can tell you that.
So you
before.
were 150
Never.
negative 50. And you were just nowhere in that
Nowhere
ballpark. But like seriously, okay, so what if, in between our husbands and the guys we had dated, we picked up a couple of guys who maybe looked like 80s. Like, how did we know that they weren't fulfilling us?
So I can tell you what it was for me. I always found myself falling in love with the potential. So thinking, this guy is headed in the right direction. Oh, he has the potential to be X, Y, and Z. Oh, if he worked a little bit harder, this would be awesome about him. So for me, that's what it was. I was always falling in love with the potential and knowing that that was the case, and then having to snap back in reality and say that, he's not fulfilling the things that I need. I see that in him if he put in more work, but he's not putting in that work.
So basically, you're saying the wrong guys were saying, stick with me and I'll get you that expensive ring later.
Oh my goodness.
But here go this $75 ring right now, versus your husband who came with the right ring. So you knew that of course he had the potential, but he was already standing in his
In
truth.
case you're wondering, you can always refer back to the
Episode
$75
two
engagement ring.
of Four
Episode
Mrs. in the Mic
2.
podcast. I just wanted to point out that y'all talk about me, but y'all just keep coming over to my side, whether you realize it or not.
Not quite. You just keep finding a way to
bring
relate
us
it back to.
Because it is the truth. It is real life.
But yeah, that's how I knew that I was falling more for the 20 than the 80. He didn't have it. I could see him having it, but he didn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have to snap myself back to reality and say, listen, he probably could be an awesome X, Y, and Z, but he's not. And he's not putting in that work that you need him to put in to get there. So, he's not meeting your 80 need.
Right.
He's still in that 20 range.
I think when you're dating, you don't know what you don't know. So if you've never had this one guy that meets that requirement, then you keep looking for it. And then when you find it, it's like, wow.
It's that unexpected.
This
one,
is
it's
what
that number 3.
I was supposed to be getting. Exactly.
That's
So
episode 1, guys, if you're wondering what that is.
So I think that's kind of what it is too. You think that this is the right one, and then it's like, nope, that's not right. Nope, that's not right. And as you go through the relationship, you're like, okay, this is not right. This is not right. This is not right. And then once you get to the one that is right, it's like, wait a minute, he meets this, he meets that, he meets that. This might be it, guys.
So if I'm honest, and I'm about to spill quite a bit of my truth real quickly, and I'm going to do this as tactfully as I can, but the guy that I was most in love with before my husband, looking back on that relationship, I realized the only thing that really held me, because he basically treated me like shit all the rest of the time in our relationship. The only thing that really held me there was, like, the sex was great. And so for me now, that's in my 80, but that would be a 20 if I still got all the other stuff from my husband that I didn't get from that guy.
You didn't know.
Exactly. But, and I hate to use this word, so I'm not going to, but, blankmatized.
Right.
Basically, that's what it was. And just don't fall prey to that, because you can think that you're really in love because of the feelings that get emoted during that time. You know what I mean?
Right.
But those are not even close to the feelings that you should be getting from someone who actually fulfills your love tank, basically. Shout out to Vicky Gumbelson on the Real Housewives of OC. I hope she listens. If he's filling your love tank, the feelings that you will get won't even come close to the feelings that you think you're getting, just, from that physical connection. Not that the physical connection is not super, super, super important, because it is. But if that's all he's got to offer, then he's a 20, Right. And I made the mistake of falling for a 20, praying it was an 80. It was not.
Right.
So I think you can also equate that to how you feel, literally. And if you are not in a happy place 80% of the time, and only that 20% of the time when you are around him, or he's doing the right thing, or he's doing something you like, if you're only happy that 20% of the time, and then the other time you're upset, you are
jealous, frustrated, angry, stalking,
right,
insecure, doubtful, question. I mean, I felt all the negative emotions you could feel,
right? But that's,
except when we were
right. But that's real. I mean, if that's the case, then you have probably fallen into that 20 category instead of that 80.
Exactly. What about you, Elle?
I mean, for me, it was just, with past dating experiences, it was just like, oh, well, if I just change this, and this, and this, he'll be perfect. Like, it's a list of things you have to change. And, and back then, I'm like, oh, well, 5, 6 things, that's not, it's not a big deal. And, when I met my husband, I realized, it
is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
So I could get a lot more.
Then you can also see the things that maybe you thought were the 20 should really be in the 80, and vice versa, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that, Cece?
So, if the was really the 80, seeming like it was the 80, it really could have been the 20, because the 80 that you're looking for is all the other feelings you can get from it.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But we're talking about...
So maybe you had it... Maybe because we didn't know at that time,
we had it
reversed.
Absolutely.
So what you absolutely really needed was not being met, but what you thought you wanted.
So we're back to that. So do we feel like the 80 is your needs and the 20 is your wants? Or do they overlap? Or should your 80 be needs and wants and your 20 be needs and wants?
I think that you don't know what you want when you're dating the wrong people.
But what about when you find the right one? Because even the right one, we admit it won't be 100.
It won't be 100, but it'll have so many more pros than cons.
So I think
and I think you have to figure out what that is for you. Is that I want somebody to take care of me. I want somebody to pay my bills. I want somebody to provide, and I just want to sit back. So that's what it is for me. Or do you want somebody that has the full package in everything else? They're domestic. They provide, they take care of the kids, it depends on what you want. So I think that's respective to each individual. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So my 80 may be completely different from your 80.
I'm sure it is.
Completely different from your 80.
I'm sure every person's 80
you need to find out what your healthy
different.
80 is. And once you find out what your healthy 80 is, then the 20 is like,
But that's totally like compatibility,
Right.
Because things that are 80s to me are probably 20s to you and vice versa. And the guy for me is going to have these things in his 80 that, might be a 20 for you. Like the romance thing, y'all's husbands are romantic. So those are y'all's 80s, that's my 20. But my husband doesn't leave his socks next to the hamper, that kind of, you know what I'm saying? So
right. So to answer your question, I think they overlap. So still thinking about, thinking about Mr. CJ's 20 for me, which is, him giving all his time and energy to other things. And then, we kind of get the exhausted him. like my love language is quality time. So for me, I don't want the sleeping husband. I want the husband that's going to spend time with me. However, also in my 80 is a man that has drive.
Yeah.
So, for me, my needs are in both categories. My need for quality time is sitting in this 20 right now, but my need to have a man who is driven and constantly working to better himself is in my 80 category. So I have a need in both, if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense to me because for me, I have needs in both and I have wants in both. The romance thing might seem trivial to a lot of people, and I'm sure it is to a lot of people, but for me, I need that kind of reinforcement. I need those thoughtful gestures. I need those "you're really special to me" things. And here, I thought about this and I worked really hard to do this for you. To me, swiping your credit card, I might like what you get with it, but that didn't take a lot of effort. Writing a poem or something like that would go so much longer than him just sending me something off my wish list. I know that's probably weird coming from me, but it's true, So that for me is a need that will never be met because it's just not in his DNA to be that guy. But I can't dwell on that because if I do go out looking for that guy that's going to do all those things in my 20, he's not going to give me those things in my 80.
Right.
Yeah, and that's how it is for me because I need like organization. I need that in my life. Like I need, cleanliness and organization. And so him, being that way obviously disrupts that. And so, but, like I said, I oftentimes think, like you said, it's very trivial. Like, maybe it's not that big of a deal,
Mm-hmm. Even though for you it's a need.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal to you.
Right.
But not a big enough deal to be like, he's not the guy.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. That makes sense. So I just want one last little bit. How do we think we should go about increasing that number, that 80 to 85 or 90 or 99, as CJ said?
Well,
what can we do? Or should we just let it go?
Well, I'm always going to be working on it. I mean, I put that hamper. I remind him when he's taking off the socks. Hey, there's a hamper right there. So
why don't you put a little sign above it, and it's like throw socks here, or like a little basketball goal, so he can because he likes basketball.
Yeah.
There you go. He might get the. See.
I mean, yeah, I'm always working on it.
Yeah, I think it's something that you just constantly work on. Mm-hmm. It's something you constantly work towards, and I think your partner knows or will know that these things are important to you, and you may not get it all the time, but they will make it a point to make those things a priority sometimes. So, Mr. Bree is not romantic, but every now and then, once in a blue moon,
once in an indigo moon,
right? He might pull out a romantic gesture,
and you'll appreciate it that much more when it does happen.
Let me tell you what this sucker did to me once. Okay, so this is not the first time I've had this discussion, basically, about him not being romantic. So one day I was venting to one of his guy friends, actually, because this particular guy friend is very romantic with his wife. And do you know that same day, my husband didn't know I had this discussion. He took me to the Mikimoto store and was like, pick out whatever you want. And I'm sitting there with egg on my face because this guy is right here.
That's funny.
And he's looking at me like, you ungrateful heifer.
So I guess for us, since ours is a little bit, it's kind of different. Ours is a personality thing. I think we rediscover the great things about what we both lack. So when I am having a million things on my mind and a million things going on, he's like, it's really okay. Like, just sit back for a second and just stop for a minute and do this. And then you can go back to that. So ultimately, I think that's how we reconnect, I guess, or that's how we get to like more of or closer to a 100. And then, sometimes like I'll explain to him, right, but if you went, this is good, but this is better. And then he starts to understand, like, I see why you're at level 15. And then I think that's how we even out sometimes.
So you think explaining why you need it or why you're that way.
So that's what it is for us, you know.
Okay.
Like, it's just because usually, like, it'll probably end up in an argument or something, and then after we stop talking, after we start talking from not talking for a couple of days, then it's like, okay, I get it. I see what you're saying. I may not react the way you want me to react, but I see at least what you're saying. And I think ultimately that's all it is.
On a later podcast, we're going to talk about the right way to argue. And is that the right way to argue?
I mean, it works for us.
Well, I think that was a little heavy. I think I told a little bit more of my business than I thought I was. But
It's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
And I think it's obvious through this discussion that we're still unpacking it.
Oh, yeah.
So, there is no such thing as the perfect guy or the perfect girl.
The perfect marriage.
The perfect marriage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's no such thing.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that, like, the 80 and 20, it can kind of, they don't have to be stoic things, because one day my husband might decide he's very romantic and he might just become this romance guy.
Right.
And that becomes an 80, but then something else becomes
Right.
a 20.
It can change.
Yeah.
It can
Right.
totally
And
shift.
my husband might start cleaning, You never know.
I hope he does. I'm going to help you make that little basketball sign. Right.
Listener question.
So who's got our listener question?
Okay, today's listener question is from Brandy from Lafayette.
Hi, Brandy. Thanks
Hi,
for
Brandy.
Thanks for listening.
She says, so my boyfriend and I have been dating for 6 months. I really like him and can see a future with him. We have been intimate, but always in the dark because I am extremely self-conscious about a scar that I have. He obviously hasn't seen it, and I'm scared to show him. How and when do I let him know about this?
Oh, Brandy. Like, I want to go first, but I kind of want to hear what y'all have to say first. Because I have, like, personal experience. I think we probably all have personal experience.
I mean, I think we all have flaws, and eventually they come out.
Yes.
So I don't know if there's a right time, but I also think that if he's the guy for you, the scar shouldn't matter.
Right.
So first off, I just want to say, however you got the scar, try not to think of it as a blemish and think of it as something you survived, because
Absolutely.
it's an indication of something that could have taken you out or weakened you, and it didn't. So maybe if you shift how you see it, you won't maybe be so self-conscious about it.
Right.
But with that being said, again, if he's the right guy, but even if he's the wrong guy, I have never been in a situation where a guy was at the point of, like, right before the da-dun, and he noped out because of something like that.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say that. If this is about intimacy, this guy is not about to stop because of your scar.
He's not.
He's
honey.
probably already seen it and
Yes.
does not care.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But if you are uncomfortable with it, I say have a conversation with him about it. Just find a time, sit down, talk to him about it. Tell him this makes me uncomfortable or I'm self-conscious about this. And to be honest, if he's a guy for you, he will do things to make you less self-conscious. And he'll do things to show you that he doesn't mind your scars and you're even more beautiful because of them.
Yeah, I tell you, my husband has a huge scar on his hand, and it is like the sexiest thing in the world to me. So, I mean, you just never know.
Do you, like, fantasize of? No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, Mr.
So,
L.
I mean, you never know. I mean, yeah.
But, okay, so I know you guys haven't seen the 4 misses yet, but I am the representative of the plus size ladies, the curvy ladies out there. And for us, you know, sometimes there's a lot of self-consciousness about, like, our weight or, like, our stomachs or, like, our arms might jiggle or something like that. And that can creep into, like, the bedroom. And I can tell you 9.99999 times out of 10, A, he's already aware of whatever it is you're super self-conscious about. He just hasn't said anything, probably because he can pick up on the fact that you're self-conscious about it. And B, he doesn't care. So it's really like you're making it bigger in your mind than you need to, you know. So that's why I think, Brandy, you really should just like focus on you getting comfortable with it, because I promise you, he is not going to let that stop him. And I agree with CJ, you know, have that conversation, bust out the scar. He's probably going to tell you how awesome it is and how cool it is. Guys like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
He might even, you know, make it a thing. It'll be one of those like super romantic moments where he kisses it or something like that. Wasn't that in a movie or something like that?
I don't know.
It was. Oh, it was in The Family Stone. Remember, she had the double mastectomy from breast cancer. You never saw that movie?
I never saw it.
Such a good movie. It's a holiday movie. This is not an ad for that movie, but I love Sarah Jessica Parker and I love Amy Adams.
Well, you know, I haven't seen it, so.
Yeah, Elle doesn't watch any movies. Diane Keaton's in it.
Okay, so back to the...
But anyways, back to the story. Back to the story. So she had a double mastectomy because she had breast cancer. And you can tell it's something that she's a little bit ashamed of, but her husband would like caress where her breasts used to be and kiss them. And you know, I'm sure on his end, he's just grateful that those scars mean his wife is still here. Because if the choice is she could have breasts and be gone, or have no breasts and scars and be here, he would 100% of the time choose for her to be here.
Right. Good point. Good point.
So you have anything else you want to add to Brandy? I think that might have wrapped it up. I hope that helps you, girl. Like, really, I think he's going to be okay with it.
Yeah, I think so, too.
And if he's not, he is a class A butt face. And go find somebody who is.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. Well, this has been another edition of For Mrs. and a Mic. You can reach out to us, send us questions, give us feedback. Just say hi at formrsandamic@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes. All right, this is CJ.
CC to the left.
L.
And Bree, and I always, you know, leave you guys with a quote, and today is no different, except it's not a song lyric. But I feel like it's super important to what we talked about today. And it's actually, I couldn't find who the author of the quote was. It's kind of bounced around for centuries, so you may have heard it, but here we go. The grass is always greener where you water it.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Mic drop.
Yeah.
All right.
So water your lawns, people.
Water 'em.
All right, y'all be blessed.
Bye.
Bye.